I'm showing it's right about 6 o'clock. We're going to go ahead and get started with our program. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, fellow Richland County residents, good evening.
Good evening.
It is my pleasure to welcome you to the 2023 State of the Penny Address. My name is Leonardo Brown, and I have the pleasure of serving as the Richland County Administrator. Today or tonight, we gather to receive an update on a topic that is significant to every resident and visitor in our community, the Richland County Transportation Penny. But before we delve into the details of the penny, let me take a moment to address a few of our housekeeping rules. Comment cards. As you listen to the presentation on this evening, we value your input and feedback. Please take a moment to fill out comment cards, which you can submit throughout this presentation. We have a few staff members walking the aisles to collect them as they are completed. Your insights are essential to us and play a crucial role in shaping the future of our county. The State of the Penny email address. If you have any follow-up questions or need more information after today's address, I encourage you to reach out to us through our dedicated State of the Penny email address. We are committed to responding to your inquiries within 2 to 3 business days. Media Q&A opportunities. Following this presentation, there will be an opportunity for members of the media to ask questions to our presenters. Please allow our visitors to exit the chambers. Before conducting interviews, our communications staff will assist you in facilitating any interviews once the chambers are clear. And then survey cards. We are actively seeking your opinions and insights, and we want to ensure that your voice is heard. Please take a survey card as you exit to be completed at your convenience. Your feedback will help us continue to improve our transportation infrastructure. Now let's shift our focus to the Richland County Transportation Penny. This program has had a profound impact on our community. Over the years, the Penny has funded numerous transportation projects, from road improvements to the expansion of public transit. These projects have not only enhanced the quality of life for our residents, but have also played a pivotal role in economic development of our community. We'll hear about some of the remarkable achievements, ongoing projects, and future plans in detail during this evening's address. In closing, I'd like to express my gratitude to each of you for being a part of this important conversation. Your engagement is a testament to the vitality of our community and the strength of our shared desire for a vibrant county. Together, we will continue to make Richland County a better place to live, work, and thrive. The Penny continues to be a critical driver for progress in our county, and we are committed to ensuring its transparency, efficiency, and accountability. Part of that commitment is reflected in the county's council's establishment of a Penny Transportation Advisory Committee, which is comprised of Richland County citizens representing Arcadia Lakes, Blythewood, Columbia, Eastover, Forest Acres, Irmo, and unincorporated areas of Richland County. And now it is my pleasure to introduce the chair of the Transportation Penny Advisory Committee, Mr. John Black.
Thank you, Administrator Brown. And good evening and welcome to the 2023 State of the Penny. Again, I am John Black, Chairman of the Richland County Transportation Advisory Committee, also known as TPAC. Tonight, we're here to provide residents information regarding what has been done, what is currently in progress, as well as what projects are ahead in the future of the Penny. Richland County Council has prescribed the following powers and duties of TPAC. Provide a recommendation on any modification to the Penny-funded transportation project list not consistent with the general description of the project, such as the addition of new projects not currently on the project list. Recommend any reordering of project list priorities. Provide quarterly reports to each respective jurisdiction to which a committee members were appointed. Review the proposed scope of services for the request for proposals for the program management team, and to make recommendations as needed. To make recommendations for a financial review of the Transportation Penny as needed. It is also important to note that there is an annual financial audit of the program. To make recommendations to the Board of Directors of the Central Midlands Transit, also known as the COMET, as well as perform other duties as assigned by Richland County Council. TPAC regards its role as representing the interests of county residents who use and/or finance various modes of transportation the county provides. We act as an agent of and voice for the public's expectations and bring a diverse perspective to the interactions with County Council, the Transportation Director, and the COMET. We serve as a link between the public interest and county officials responsible for conceiving, organizing, managing, implementing, auditing, and evaluating Penny Finance transportation improvements. At this time, I'd like to introduce Ms. Eva Prelow, Vice Chair of TPAC, who will provide some additional information about TPAC and our membership.
Thank you, Chairman Black. The TPAC committee was established in 2013, and it is comprised of 15 members representing Arcadia Lakes, the city of Blythewood, Columbia, Eastover, Forest Acres, Irmo, and the unincorporated areas of the county. We are volunteers who serve without any compensation, and the appointed terms is up to 5 years. The members of TPAC meets monthly on the third Monday of each month at 4 p.m. The meetings are currently held virtual, but we are anticipating transitioning back to in-person very soon. Additionally, our meetings are streamed live on the Richland County YouTube channel. The current members of the committee are as follows: Chairman John Black, yours truly, Vice Chair Eva Prelow, Secretary Christine Keffer, Frank Anderson, John Epton, Richard McKendrick, Matt Morrison, Candace Patman, and Corner Parker. Well, also in Ashton Williams. Serving as ex officio members are County Council Paul Livingston and County Council Chair Overture Walker. We currently do have some vacancies, so if you are interested in serving, please reach out to either the municipality you reside in Richland County, or via the county email at www.richlandpenny.com. That's www.richlandpenny.com. And I'll now turn the floor back over to Chairman Black.
Thank you, Vice Chair Prelow, for that information. Tonight, we will provide you with presentations from Mr. Michael Maloney, Director of Richland County Public Works and the Transportation Penny Department, Mr. John Bolyston, Director of Preconstruction from the South Carolina Department of Transportation, Ms. Pamela Green, Manager of the Richland County Office of Small Business Opportunity, Ms. Carrie Turner, Marketing Manager from Richland County Economic Development, and Ms. Pamela Bynoe-Reed, Public Information Officer and Director of Marketing and Community Affairs for the COMET and the Central Midlands Transit. Upon the conclusion of these presentations, we will transition into our question and answer portion of the program. I'd like to take this opportunity to share our heartfelt condolences to Ms. Cynthia Hardy, who lost her beloved husband James at 31 years this past weekend. After a long battle with cancer, I know she was looking forward to moderating this event, but we are fortunate to have Richland County Communications Director, Ms. Susan O'Kane, stepping in and filling those shoes for her tonight. Attendees of tonight's event shall have an opportunity to submit questions for the Q&A portion at the end. As previously stated by Administrator Brown, note cards have been provided, and we have county staff available to pick up those cards throughout the presentations. We more than likely will not get through all the questions that have been received via email and submitted tonight, but we are going to do our best to answer as many as we can with the time that we have allotted. Without further ado, I'm pleased to introduce Mr. Mike Maloney for our first presentation.
Thank you, Chairman Black, and to all the council members that are in the audience, as well as our transportation team. Representing tonight the direction of the Transportation Department as I receive it from our administration and council. We've worked hard with them over the last couple of years to bring a lot of good news, and so the state of the penny is very solid, and I'm going to be reporting on that and a lot of larger numbers tonight. And then monthly we report into the TPAC. So every month, we have a financial sheet that's updated as expenses occur on the projects. And so if you have a particular question, as was pointed out, by emailing the Richland Transportation Penny at Richland County SC.gov, we will immediately get these out to you by email. So if you want to see the overview of how these numbers are assembled up from the projects, we'll get into those details, and that in itself could take a night. The department is called the Transportation Penny Department, and that is in Chapter 2 of the county code. And with us from the department, we have Nathaniel Miller in the audience. He handles our contracts, budgets. We have Wendy Gardner, who handles our finance. And we have with us Whitney Struther, who handles our admin. We also have Alexander Burton, who's one of our transportation inspectors, Dr. Ali Dorani, who's one of our project managers, and Michael Green, project manager. We require this team internally to conduct the daily business and operation of oversight of all the projects that are underway. And I have enjoyed working with them for the past 2 years. Get into the facts and figures, and then we'll talk about projects we've completed and projects that are remaining. As we know, the referendum was approved in November of 2012, and that tax collection began in May of 2013. So it doesn't start right away after the referendum. It takes quite a few months. And that's when collection begins. Receipt of the first payment would happen closer to the fall of 2013. Maximum collection is 22 years, or when 1.07 billion is achieved, whichever comes first. County Finance Department has predicted that that will be achieved by December of 2025, just a little over 2 years from now. And that's based on our current rate with minor growth. And the collection period at that point will have been at 12.5 years. Right now, we're at about 10.6 years into the program, 48% of the full 22 years. And at this point, the Penny has received $710 million in the sales tax, so about 66% achieved. Additionally, the program has received grants totaling $35.5 million, and that will extend the program to $1.105 billion. Project budgets currently total, and these are actually the expense side, $555 million. So that's at 52% through the projects. And that will continue using the remaining budgets of the program until all the projects are completed and/or the funds are fully used. This is the state of the revenue. So the revenue has as I said in the previous slide, the penny tax has generated $710 million. The interest from the state and delivering that to us quarterly has yielded 2.5, almost 2.6 million in additional revenue transferred to the county. When the money comes into the county and it's not used right away, it also is earning interest, and that's at 15.3 million. There's miscellaneous revenue from the city and other sources. It comes to about 1.9 million. And then there's the general fund payment back to the penny of 16.5 million. That is the settlement. And then there's a finance cost. When the penny initiated it, used bands and then turned that into a $100 million bond. And the total cost for that in having that fund up front was $5.7 million. At this point, out of that $35.5 million in grants I mentioned, 30.2 million has come in, so that's the actual cash flow amount. And so the actual Revenue received by the county at this point is $771 million. Now for the state of the expenditures, we're showing you year by year. And there are trends that you can see in these, and that's why we show them, so that we're transparent on how things are going. As you go from left to right on roadways, it started out in 14. As I mentioned, they really weren't getting transportation funds until fiscal year 14, which starts July 1 of 2013. So that started the actual expenses and the revenue at that time. And it grew to a large number at 68 million in 2018 and started to subside. 2020, we had COVID. It went down to 22 million, and now it's coming back up to 22 million from a low there in the roadways. Similar trends, we had admin costs originally with the PDT development, and so that's the admin line down below, and that ended in 2018. The COMET has grown, and you see that, and that pretty much tracks revenue. So sales tax revenue goes up the percent, or about 1/3 goes to the COMET. Personnel started being tracked in 2020, and that's when it was fully turned over to the Richland County Transportation Penny Department, and so you see the cost of that. Those costs, about $2 million total, do get put into the projects, and those would go into the roadway and bike ped category. And the total, so the total expense is at the $555 million. Penny is about project funding, which lapses through multiple years. You start a project in design, and you might even have a 3-year, 2 to 3 years of design, and as much as 3 years of construction time or more. And so we have to look at these as not just what's the budget or what's the annual budget, but what's the project funding and how does that continue on. So the original fund is essentially the referendum. Roadway projects at $656 million, total bike ped greenway at $80,888,000, COMET expenditures at $300 million, and what was interest and management was at $32.1 million, and that was the total of $1,070 million. The current funding has grown a little bit, and that has to do with those grants that I was talking about. Roadway projects looks a little lower than the original at $640 million, but that's because we pulled the I-20 Broad River Road interchange out, which is being constructed by SCDOT at this time, and that is at currently $47.5 million. So when you add those together, you'd see we'd be at about $688 million. The total bike ped greenway that has received just under about $3.2 million in grants, so that's at $84 million. Comments as it was planned. And then there's this larger number called the program reserve. So that program reserve takes into account those interests that we saw bearing. So that raised $32.1 million up to $62.8 million. I can't put that in a project. That's outside all the projects right now, and that's where we have to show it to account for it here. So that increases it, the total funding, grants, interest, and other things, also considering debt expenses, and raises the program to $1.136 billion. Expended to date on roadways is $317 million, leaving us $323 million. And when I go to forecast, that's looking at the projects we have remaining and adding a 20% inflation factor. The project reserve gets used. So the project reserve goes from $47.5 million down to $22 million. And that $22 million is what balances the roadway projects remaining to that forecast. Also, the $22 million is shown in the right column, and that could be spent. That could be spent if inflation would really take off, or it could be spent on planning other projects. We've estimated and projected the remaining total bike pedestrian greenways at $36 million. Common expenses as planned, $101 million remaining. But the program reserve is at $51 million, and we're not showing any of that being spent in the forecast. So the total forecast is $508 million, while the remaining fund with the reserve is $581 million. And that's where I declare that the financial state of the penny is very good. I'm showing a quick slide of the current funding for 2024 to say that we're ready to roll on funding. The roadways are budgeted. These are in purchase orders ready to go for all the projects totaling $216 million. Project development status is to give you an idea what's ahead, what's behind. Roadway widening is at 44%, intersections 70%, and that's rising, and we'll see that when we look at the projects. Special projects is at 52%, dirt road paving, which is based on budget, is 47%, as well as resurfacing is based on budget, is at 80%. Greenways are at 55% complete, bikeways at 90% complete, sidewalks 50%, and pedestrian improvements totally completed. And the COMET, as I said, matching the revenue of 66% is at 66%. Completed projects are the road widenings are the largest projects. Clemson Road widening was completed. North Main Street widening completed last winter, and Bluff Road area improvements completed. Intersections now up to 11. These projects are well ahead of schedule, and just last spring we put North Main Street Monticello on the list, as well as just last month Screaming Eagle and Percival Road. Special projects, Riverbanks Zoo completed, including a pedestrian bridge. Innovista 1, Green Street, Phase 1 and 2. Phase 2 completed last winter. Shop Road Extension, Phase 1, bringing, again, a lot of economic development with that project. Broad River Road Neighborhood Improvement Project was completed just a couple years ago. CERN Neighborhood Improvement Plan, we're going to see that both on completed, and then there was another project added. So CERN was completed under the estimated budget by about $1.1 million, and will allow for another sidewalk project. Decker NIP has the plan completed. Candlewood is totally completed, and Crane Creek has the plan completed. Not the project, but the project plan. Dirt road paving, we've completed 15 packages and 85 roads. Resurfacing is 14 packages and 490 roads complete. This is a look into those two areas. So we had resurfacing packages A through R that completed 490, construction amount of $36,900,000, and that's all completed. This past spring, road packages S&T for resurfacing went out. There's the value. We're completing the punch list of those projects, so that added another 75 roads. And then in dirt packages, we have completed A through L. M was completed this past spring. And then dirt road package N is under construction, nearing completion. And no, it is complete, I'm sorry. O is just going out to bid. Greenways and bikeways. So Three Rivers Greenway extension, 1A and 1B are complete. Lincoln Tunnels complete. On the bikeway projects, a lot of the projects were, bike lanes and different things around the city in that category. Sidewalks, we have 2 pages of completed sidewalk projects. It starts off with Clemson Road Package S10, so some larger sidewalk extents on these projects. And that completes the completed sidewalks. As I said, we were 100% on pedestrian improvements, so that's crosswalks, ADA ramps for Americans with Disabilities Act, and improving all these intersections. Those were completed previously. Now for the remaining projects. So when you see these, we've got highlighting on projects that they're remaining, but they're under construction. So we have Hardscrabble Road and Leesburg Road. Those projects are being managed by SCDOT, and we have them here tonight to talk about any questions you might have on those projects. Look at the remaining widenings. Atlas Road is going to be bid out this month, so we've got that shown as in right away, but we'll be likely moving to construction. Just given the time of year, it looks like that would be just after the first of the year, moving towards construction or in construction at that time. Blythewood Road widening is in construction. That one will be completed in April of 2025. Broad River Road widening has a schedule that's, we started with 33 months. I think we're down to about 13 or 14 months on that, but that's going to be going to bid at that point. Spears Creek Church Road and Lower Richland Boulevard, Polo Road widening, and Blythewood area improvements are all in their final design. The intersection list has gotten much shorter. We have 3 remaining projects, 2 are in construction. Clemson and Sparkleberry is perhaps the largest intersection project that is in design. The Bull and Elmwood Street, as you know, is in construction if you're driving into downtown on Elmwood. Garner's Ferry and Harmon are in construction and will be completed later this month. And the special projects, Innovista 3 is on the list, and it has a fund of about $4.5 million, and that will be managed by the City of Columbia. Shop Road Extension Phase 2 is in early design. Kelly Mill Road was just launched into design about 2 months ago. And then Commerce Drive improvements is not started. CERN, NIP, I mentioned that there was a ability to do an additional project that's part of the neighborhood plan, and that was the Rabbit Run sidewalk from the new connector road up to Trotter. Decker NIP is ready to start. We just got our authorization from DOT on those, so on Brookfield Road, and then we're looking for one on Hunt Club Road for the sidewalk projects there. Crane Creek NIP is under review at DOT, and Trenholm Newcastle similarly. Broad River Corridor is a little bit different from the other neighborhood and projects which cover sidewalks in the projects. Broad River Corridor is work literally along Broad River Road and is mostly a safety project to help alleviate issues with vehicles pulling in and out of businesses in the middle of the blocks. Earlier, I went through the project reserve, the dirt and resurfacing program, which will continue on with their budgets. And then in program, I will just mention, we did fund the mitigation bank, and as that balances, we do keep track of that on our sheet. As wetland credits for the wetland mitigation bank are sold, they are coming into our outside funding side, and then our current approved estimate is falling by that amount as well. So it's kind of the return on investment. The last thing I did want to mention in that, since it also does include studies, is Richland County Council approved to begin a study to look at the transportation needs throughout all of Richland County, and that will begin very soon. The remaining greenways, Three Rivers Greenway Extension Phase 2 is to connect onto the trail and head north under the I-126 bridge to a point where the Boyd Foundation is going to be putting a bridge crossing of Broad River. The county's participation in that is essentially the cost of building the trail to that point, so to a maximum of $2.2 million. Gills Creek from Fort Jackson to Michael Lane is in final design and is now in right-of-way acquisition, and Smith Rocky Branch is ready to be in right-of-way acquisition. Crane Creek is in design, in permitting, and then the Columbia Mall Greenway is also in early design. Polo Road, Windsor Lake Boulevard Greenway connector was started this past summer. It has a public information meeting next week on the October 9th, and that'll be at the Polo Road Park. On the bikeways, we have, again, quite a few projects there. They're not large projects, except Alpine Road just had a groundbreaking on Tuesday morning of this week, and that was actually changed to sidewalks on that road. And then Blythewood Road was increased from restriping to actually putting shared use paths on each side of the road, and that is in construction. The rest of these projects are city or SCDOT areas, so that when they're resurfacing, we can coordinate with them, because they can restripe for bike lanes, for instance, when they're resurfacing. The three big sidewalk projects are Sunset, Alpine, and Percival Road sidewalks. They're all ready to go to construction. Alpine has been bid out and is going to construction this month. Sunset Drive, we received the authorization to proceed from the South Carolina DOT, and so that is with procurement. That is bidding out and has a pre-bid meeting, I believe, later this month. Percival Road is ready to be released and go to construction as well. The other projects are a little bit smaller. There was a identified project near Fort Jackson, Prospect Road, Shannon Street sidewalk, couple of neighborhood sidewalks in there remaining. So if you'd back up to that one last slide, sorry, I missed my cue. Just email us at transportationpenny@richlandcountysc.gov. So if you have any questions, and again, you want any specifics on the projects to talk about their scope, their budget, their schedule, we can certainly help you out there. And if you want to email us, we'll get you one of these forms for all the large projects and project categories. Thank you. The next speaker is John Bolyston. He's with South Carolina DOT and is the Director of Preconstruction.
Thank you, Michael. TPAC Chairman Black and committee members, Council Chairman Walker, and members of council. Again, I'm John Bolyston. I'm the Director of Preconstruction at the SCDOT, and more importantly tonight, a resident of Richland County. I appreciate the invitation and the opportunity to briefly talk about what DOT is doing here in Richland County, and to acknowledge the partnership we have with the Penny. I mentioned that I'm a resident because I'm one of 413 residents of Richland County that are DOT employees, and that represents over 10% of our statewide workforce. So as taxpayers and residents, we also have a vested interest in the success of the penny. Next slide, please. Like Richland County, SCDOT realized back in the early 2010s that current transportation funding levels were inadequate to meet the demands of a growing state with aging infrastructure and the fourth largest state-maintained roadway system in the country. As a result, in 2017, the state legislature passed Act 40, which increased the state gas tax by 12 cents. It was phased in 2 cents a year and was fully phased in just this past year in 2023, so that the full 12 cents is now in effect. Even with that increase, we are still below our neighboring states to the north and the south. We have a lower state gas tax than Georgia and North Carolina. That additional funding allowed us to embark on a 10-year plan that includes, go back, I want to point out one thing on that slide, sorry. A 10-year plan, the plan has 4 main areas of focus: interstates, bridges, pavements, and safety. As of today, we have almost $5 billion worth of work under contract statewide, and you can clearly see on this graphic how things ramped up beginning about 2017 as we implemented the 10-year plan and began collecting this increased gas tax. This $5 billion is going to grow here pretty soon because we just announced the award of the I-26, I-95 interchange down in Orangeburg County on I-26, and we will be letting in January the next 10 miles of I-26 going out of town towards Charleston. And over the next 10 years, we have plans to widen all of I-26 between Columbia and Charleston, hopefully to make that trip to Charleston a little bit easier for all of us. All right, now next slide. As I mentioned, the 10-year plan focuses 4 areas: interstates, bridges, pavements, and safety. And so I'd like to now kind of move from a statewide perspective and talk about what the DOT is doing specifically here in Richland County. Excuse me, to start with, on the interstates, we've invested, since the beginning of the 10-year plan, $662 million on our interstate system just in Richland County. This includes projects like the phases 1 and 2 of the Carolina Crossroads, phase 1 being what you see as you leave town going out towards Irmo at the Colonial Life Boulevard interchange, phase 2 being the I-20 Broad River Road interchange. Also, partially in Richland County is the Midlands Connection Project, which picks up where the 6 lanes ends at Broad River Road in Irmo, and is going to extend that about 15 miles into Newberry County to exit 85 at Little Mountain. Next, let's talk about bridges. We've spent $121 million on bridges across the county. And some examples of those right now under construction is the US 1 bridge on Two Notch, where Fontaine comes in over the railroad. One that's completed is the 277 flyover over I-77 as you're leaving town and going out towards the Blythewood area. And a recent rehab project that got a good bit of attention was the repair of the bridge decks on I-77 just south of town. That's been a great improvement over what was there 6 months ago. The third area of focus is pavements, and this is resurfacing across the county. We spent almost $314 million on pavements across the county, and this includes work on all classifications of roads, from interstates and other major roads down to local roads. And this amount does not include what the Richland County Transportation Committee, not the penny, but the CTC, which receives funding from the state, spent $10.3 million of their money on various roads. Those are typically local roads and lower volume roads, but the CTC is another avenue where roads get resurfaced in the county. And then the last area of emphasis was safety. And these are projects like our Safe Routes to School program, and we've done work at both Burton Pack Elementary and J.P. Thomas Elementary, and that's things like brightening up lane lines, making sure crosswalks are easily identified, all to make sure that teachers and students and the motoring public driving through there are all safe as they can be. Also included in safety are intersection improvement projects, projects like at Farrow Road and North Brickyard, Alpine Road and Old Percival fall into this category. And one thing you may have noticed across the county is rumble stripes along the center of the road and on the edge, and that's those things when you run off the edge and you hear a loud noise and start vibrating, and that's part of our safety program and something that alerts you when you deviate from the turn lanes. All right, next slide. So to wrap up, I wanted to highlight the partnership between DOT and the Richland Penny, and one of the ways that partnership works is when the Penny contributes money directly to an SCDOT project where we have a shared interest. Mike mentioned in his talk these two projects, Hardscrabble Road widening. I know everyone will be glad to know that we plan on finishing that up in the summer of '24. Leesburg Road widening is going along well, and that will be complete in the fall of '25. And you can see that the Penny contributed almost $30 million to Hardscrabble Road, $4 million to the Leesburg Road widening, and not pictured here is the streetscape on South Main Street, just behind the State House. The Penny contributed $350,000 to that one. That one had many funding sources, including the city and the university. The Penny was also one. So that's a quick look at what the DOT is doing here in Richland County, and more importantly, with Richland County. We value this this partnership and look to continue to work closely with you. And again, I appreciate the opportunity to be here with you tonight. And now it's my pleasure to introduce Ms. Pam Green. She is the interim manager of the Richland County Office of Small Business Opportunity.
Thank you, John. Good evening to County Council, County Administration. I bring you greetings from the Office of Small Business Opportunity. Our team is here. We have LaSasha Braylon, who is the Business Development Coordinator for the office, as well as Margaret Jones, who is the Certification and Compliance Specialist that's in our office. I'm happy to share information with you today as it relates to opportunities and programs that have been birthed out of the Penny Tax Program. In September of 2013, the Richland County Small Local Business Enterprise Program was established. We call that the SLBE program. And just a little bit of historical data, when it opened up, I believe they had approximately 40 different small businesses with a concentration in construction. The focus, or the areas of focus, I would say were three major areas. The first being the mission, which was to provide a race and gender neutral procurement tool for the county to ensure all segments of the local businesses have a reasonable and significant opportunity to participate in county contracts in the 5 areas of construction, architectural and engineering, professional services, non-professional services, and commodities and/or wholesale. The other area of focus was to encourage and promote a larger base or broad-based competition among the segments of the vendor community that they hope would be reflective of the demographics of Richland County. And then lastly, a very important measure was to provide avenues for development of new capacity. And basically what they wanted to do was to help these small businesses to grow, essentially, to provide growth and to help them as far as sustainability, as far as building capacity, and to offer opportunities that would allow them to gain and garner some experience. In July of 2014, they birthed the Office of Small Business Opportunity. And I like to place emphasis on the word opportunity. And as we put opportunity and small businesses here, these are the great impacts that the penny tax has had for our small businesses. Within the office was basically designed to fulfill all the different small business programs that would have been outlined by County Council, including the SLBE program, and to develop activities that would help to build business development for a lot of these businesses. The office currently provides certifications in the 5 areas that I discussed on the last slide, and we also provide technical workshops and a number of different trainings, and we've listed several here, but I would like to highlight a few that have been very, very beneficial with a lot of our small businesses as it relates to understanding bids and solicitations and how to bid, and taking a look at the possibility of how do I make sure that I'm going to be profitable when I'm actually bidding on contracts. And of course, providing opportunities for them to network with other businesses, as well as be in front of a lot of our Richland County departments and any of our collaborative departments that we've dealt with. And then, of course, a number of community outreach events that we've had throughout the year that allows us an opportunity to share the story of Richland County and small businesses. A point to make is that initially the Office of Small Business Opportunity, and I'll call it OSBO, was funded by the Transportation Penny. However, the plans were to phase the majority of the budget into the general fund. And so with fiscal year 2017, the office became fully funded by the Richland County General Fund. I wanted to provide just a few visual graphics for you. A lot of this will be a part of the TPAC that we produce every month. And this just gives you an idea of the layout as far as the 5 different certifying areas and where the dominance lies at this particular point. So as you can see, with construction at a little over 36% and professional services at 28%, that makes up roughly about 65% of the businesses that are playing into the contracts that are being bidded on. And when we think about professional services, that is everything outside of construction or architectural engineering that requires some type of specialized licensing or training. And examples would be legal, CPAs, things of that nature, surveyors, some along those lines. Also wanted to provide the ethnicity breakdown of the SLBEs, which shows that almost 69% are African American, with about almost 29% Caucasian, and then we can see the breakdown of the other areas that are actually being tracked. And also just want to provide the gender. We have males at 64% and females at almost 36% that represent the breakout for the SLBEs. One of the great stories to report since the inception is that to date, a little over $88 billion has been awarded and paid to SLBEs. We actually track this through a system called B2G, which is called Business to Go. And some of the projects which Director Maloney has talked about are your dirt road paving, your sidewalks, resurfacing, widenings, and things of that nature that those dollars actually come out of. The participation goals for the small businesses, and they reminded me that if I'm not close to the mic, you can't hear me. From the period of 2018 to 2023 is just some information I'm going to give you. There's been approximately 40 different projects, probably a little bit more than 40 projects. And as far as our office is concerned, we've been able to establish goals that have ranged from anywhere from 3% to 100%. And that's for SLBEs who may be performing the project as a sub or as a prime. And I wanted to give you just a snapshot of a few of the projects which are listed in the TPAC report. The sidewalk project S13, we had a goal of 25%. The Decker Woodfield Neighborhood Improvement Project was 25%. Dirt Road Package K was 23%. And like I said, there are over 40 different projects just in this time frame that we've been able to set a goal on. But also, very importantly, is that we've had an opportunity to set 100% goals on projects. And we call these projects our sheltered market projects. And sheltered market basically means that we've identified projects that are under $500,000, and we have an SLBE who can perform that work as a prime contractor. And so we've listed a couple of those projects, one being the Clemson Road sidewalk project, Coon Road and Farmview Street, and then Knollwood Planters Drainage Improvement. Our average goal set during this time period has been roughly 15%, and that's with excluding the sheltered markets. Obviously, if we put the sheltered markets back in, the average goals that are set on these projects is much higher. So important is the voice of the small business owner. It is why our office exists. It is what we advocate for. It is what the Penny has been able to do for many of the SLBEs that are a part of our database. We have a couple of testimonials. One here is from Chow and Associates, who is a consulting engineers firm. And for Mr. Chow, one of the, and I won't read the testimonial to you, I'll pull a few points out of it, is that he felt as though it definitely leveled the playing field in order to create a small local business enterprise within Richland County. And for Mr. Chow, what he had was an opportunity to participate in an OET project as a prime, as a sub, gain the experience, and then have an opportunity to bid on another project and actually gain that project as a prime. He is one of those SLBEs who operates on a number of these projects as a prime. So that's just an example of just the importance of the SLBE program and how important it was for the Penny to actually establish this and fund it. And then lastly is another testimony as well from Tollison Engineering and Construction. And for Mr. Tollison, it was the fact that the program was established because before they did not feel as though small businesses were being seen when it came to bidding on county contracts. And being able to have a voice and an advocate was an avenue that allowed his business to be able to take advantage of a number of county government contracts with the Penny Transportation Program. So in closing, I would say that from a small business standpoint and wanting to always be an advocate for small businesses, there are opportunities that the Penny definitely created for a number of our small businesses and that find basically the greatness, I guess you would say, in what the Penny can do for our economy. I thank you all for your time and attention today, and I will shift it on over.
All right, just as a reminder, we are still accepting questions. So if you have a comment card, you can fill it out, complete the comment card, and then hold it up for one of the staff members to pick up. I see. Okay, so the staff, just continue to hold the card up and the staff member will come to pick it up. And next you will hear from Carrie Turner. She's a market manager with the Richland County Economic Development Department.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to thank Council and also TPAC for welcoming the Economic Development Office to the panel this afternoon. We've got some great information to share about the impact of the Transportation Penny and what it has helped us out in bringing into the community. So our office, if you are not familiar, the mission is ultimately to reach out around the world, attract global industries into Richland County so that they will invest their capital, as well as bring in jobs for our community members. We also work on ensuring that there's property available from buildings to sites, that these locations can actually be consumed by those companies. We also assist existing industries in their efforts for expansion within Richland County as well. So the Transportation Penny has contributed $24 million towards the extension of Shop Road at the Pineview Industrial Park. And while that $24 million may be small change compared to some of the investment that my fellow panelists have received here this evening, it has actually yielded a great return for what we have been able to utilize it for. That extension created access into the park and in turn has led to the attraction of more than $1 billion in industrial development through 5 projects over the past 6 years. If you are not familiar where the Pineview Industrial Park is, imagine that you are at either Williams-Brice Stadium or the State Fairgrounds. On one side, you have Bluff Road, and on the other side, you have Shop Road. If you were to get on Shop Road and drive away from the State Fair parking lot and pretend like you're going out towards I-77's interchange and then keep going, once upon a time, it dead-ended into Pineview Drive. That is the location where that extension began. On the screen, you do see the master development plan for that extension, and it now runs down into Longwood Road. Also on this map, we have 4 of those 5 projects. I'll go into them in just a moment to kind of explain exactly what their impact has been within that park. But I do want to note that earlier this year, we announced the construction of the Summit Speculative Building. It is among the largest speculative industrial construction that we have announced. 351,540 square feet in that property. It is a Class A industrial speculative building. Also, we have about 229 remaining acres that are in development for the Pineview Industrial Park that we hope to have filled in the years to come. So the 5 projects that have announced in the past 6 years, 4 of them are brand new. 1 of them is an expansion. We'll start going back to 2016 when China Jushi came to the table. They brought in $300 million and 400 jobs. They boasted a whopping 80,000-ton production line as part of the opening of this facility. They're a fiberglass manufacturer, and the purpose of this facility was for them to be able to supplement the growing market within the United States. Following suit about 3 years later, in January of 2019, was Miwan Specialty Chemicals with a 65,000 square foot facility. That's a $19.5 million investment with 25 jobs. They produce specialty chemicals that are raw chemicals used for eco-friendly UV and EV systems. And that probably doesn't say a whole heck of a lot in terms of digestible information, but ultimately what it is the coatings that you see on your flat screens, on your computers, on your cell phones, and even coatings that go onto papers and boxes and things of that type. Those are familiar products that we all see every day, but you don't necessarily realize they're being made in your own backyard. They had their grand opening in the spring of last year. A name that many people hopefully know by now, but may recognize by a completely different name, is Mark Anthony Brewing. You probably know White Claw Hard Seltzer instead. So that facility at the time of its announcement was actually the largest of its kind in Richland County's history. The company came in with $400 million in investment and 300 jobs in November of 2020. That facility is now 1.2 million square feet and took roughly a year to become into operation once everything was announced. The company also manufactures Mike's Hard Lemonade and Cayman Jack. Just just year, we had our expansion within that park. So the last 3 were brand new. This one is the expansion out of the 5, and it's City Roots Organic Farms. They came in at $4.4 million and brought 60 jobs with them. They are a microgreen farming facility. So they focus on state-of-the-art greenhouse, sustainable farming. They want to provide the microgreen products statewide, but also regionally to both retailers and to restaurants for their use. And they're also very community-focused individuals. They do, in fact, invite people out to tour the facility to really kind of find out what it's like if you have an interest in becoming a microgreen farmer. So they have workshops. They were established in 2009 originally, and they are family-owned. Last out of that group was Sirba Solutions, which announced in March of this year. They came in at $323 million, announcing 310 new jobs for our community members with a 400,000 square foot facility. This company will be recycling electric vehicle lithium-ion batteries once they are operational. So aside from the direct impact that we had from the $24 million that allowed for that Shop Road extension, we had some ancillary projects within Richland County that also have received great benefit from this. Looking towards North Main Street, There was a $35.4 million investment from the Penny that helped out with things such as sidewalks, the burial of utility lines, street lights, repaving, widening improvements, and landscaping and pedestrian access. And in just the past year, Peak Drift Brewing was announced. They have completed phase 1 of their facility development at 25,000 square feet. Ultimately, this facility will be up to 65,000 square feet. It will be a combination brewery, but also location where community members can go to hang out, have a nice evening together. But they were originally talking about also integrating things like a gym and mixed use spaces. And looking towards Bull Street, that area, many people know it as a historic location in the downtown Columbia area. It's undergoing a great revitalization effort to turn that into a fantastic destination for business, education, lifestyle, and entertainment. And the project was unveiled in December of 2022, roughly. Same as what we kind of experienced over at North Main, where we were looking at lanes that were improved, helping out with the traffic flow and the wait times. And then the resurfacing and restriping of roads, helping out with drainage, landscaping, just different beautification components, upgrading traffic and signals, and then, of course, improving pedestrian crossings. Since this is going to be a fantastic hub for people to go to, it's going to be a place necessary to have the opportunity for people to walk around as well. Within Bull Street, there were 2 office buildings, First Base Building and West Lawn. First Base, I do believe, is fully occupied. West Lawn is still looking to complete its occupancy. There have been 5 residential developments that have either been delivered or are planned within that area. And many people know Segra Park and the Columbia Fireflies located there. We are soon going to be seeing things come out of the ground for the University of South Carolina with its medical campus. That construction is anticipated to begin in 2015 and completion targeted for just a couple of years later, around 2027. There is an entrepreneurship hub. One of the really cool things out at Bull Street is their investment in making sure that individuals who have a passion for starting businesses of their own and helping the community grow locally is the focus on entrepreneurship. And SoCo Co-working is out there. They also consider Bull Street a gigabit community. Basically, that just means that it's a cutting edge community that is technologically superior to other areas surrounding it. Also, to wrap up that, we have retail and restaurants that have been blossoming in the Bull Street area. So Aria Co-op, which came along in 2020, and then you had Iron Hill, which just recently opened up this summer, Starbucks back in 21, and then Publico, which is a locally owned restaurant that has expanded from down in the Vista, or down in 5 Points actually, up into Bull Street. So making Bull Street not only a revitalized area to capture the history and secure some of the beauty that Columbia has had in the past, but turning it into a destination that is a true gem, along with many of the other Columbia destinations. So I will now turn it over to Ms. Pam Bynoe-Reed. She is the Public Information Officer and Director of Marketing and Community Affairs for the COMET.
Thank you so much, Carrie. And I'd also like to thank Chairman Walker and members of Richland County Council, as well as TPAC, for the opportunity to be here tonight. And last but not least, I want to thank you, the citizens of Richland County, for your contribution through the Penny. You have allowed the COMET to improve its public transportation system over the course of the last 10 years. I'd like to recognize our board chair, Allison Tracio, our board members, Dr. Robert Morris, Chairman Overture Walker, Andy Smith, and Lil Mood, and staff members, Ms. Andrews, Ms. Woodson, and Ms. Jacobs, and also the head of the Midlands Transit Riders Association, Walter Durst, for being here this evening. You know, we have done so much good with the allocation we receive of only 1/3 of a penny. So let's take a look at how far we've gone. So let's talk about miles traveled. That has increased 41% from about 1.6 million miles in 2012. And as we've gone through the last 10 years, we've reached over 2.3 million miles in 2021, We've enhanced transit services through the service area, adding more frequency on popular routes. We reduced service on non-popular routes, adding more reflex services. We've created a pulse system in downtown Columbia to reduce wait times, and we've restructured express routes to better connect people to employment sites in the service area. We have even greatly improved our on-time performance from running about 39% back in 2012 to on-time performance now averaging running about 78%. In 2018, the number of routes that we offered were 18. Go back. That's okay. In 2012, we offered 18 routes. Yeah, there you go. The additional miles traveled was directly attributed to the increased number of routes we've been able to offer with the help of the citizens of Richland County. In fact, since 2012, we restructured our service delivery system. And when transit services are restructured, we receive input from the community before any major changes are made to any route. The public involvement process allows stakeholders, riders, and community leaders to comment on any proposed plans. And so we have added 29 new routes to connect more people to their destinations. So the public not only plays a major role in decisions that are made involving route changes, but also the installment of bus stops, benches, and shelters, and many other factors that affect the rider experience and their quality of life. The Board of Directors adopted new performance measures and revised fare and service change policy to guide our service changes. And we have now 160 bus shelters where we had none in 2012, and 129 benches as of 2021. So, next one. That's fine. So, how many buses have we added to our fleet? Many of you may recall that in 2012, we had an aging fleet of buses that would frequently break down. With your help, we were able to add more buses to allow citizens to get to their essential destinations. With your help, we're also looking forward to adding a few new electric buses to our fleet before this year is out. So we've added a gain of 29 buses to our fleet. Because in 2012, we had 68, and in fiscal year 2021, we've had 97. So let's talk about ridership. In 2012, we had 1.4 million riders, or passenger rides. In fiscal year 2021, we increased that to 2.8 million passenger rides. So who's riding? They're real people. They're your friends, your family, and your neighbors. There are veterans. There are seniors who no longer drive. There are students and stay-at-home moms. There are people on their way to work. There are people who ride by necessity and those who ride by choice. And you may even recognize some of the people on this screen because these are people who actually ride our system. And 75% of their travel is for work, food, or healthcare purposes. Other reasons are to build community by visiting friends and family or even shopping. And because we have the COMET's fixed route system, the FTA also allows us to have a DART paratransit system that allows us to help people with disabilities and seniors who cannot ride the regular bus to get where they need to go, to work, healthcare, food, church, etc. And it's from doorstop to destination. As our fixed route system has grown, we've been able to serve more people through our DART paratransit system as well. Beyond the road, we've supported the riders of the Midlands in crisis and in calm. During the COVID-19 pandemic, we provided free transportation people who needed to get their vaccines. We provided late-night service subsidies through a partnership with Lyft, as well as transportation to those people living in food deserts so that they could receive fresh food. We've even partnered with Senior Resources and delivered meals to seniors during COVID. Additionally, we provided more coverage to seniors and people who have disabilities residing in areas of Richland County where we had limited coverage through our V-Trip and PUP programs. Education is important to building a strong economy, and we are so proud of our partnerships with area schools and school districts. And this allows students, staff, and faculty to ride free of charge just by showing their school ID. And we didn't stop there. We also built partnerships with area businesses and major hospitals, which allows their employees to ride our system free of charge by showing their work ID. And to show that we were good stewards of the money the voters of Richland County provided, we maximized the investment. For every dollar spent on capital projects such as benches, shelters, and buses, we received an 80% federal match. But in order to receive the federal dollars, we needed to have the local investment. This brings us to Excellence in Financial Management Awards. So the Government Finance Officers Association of the United States and Canada awarded us the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting for our annual comprehensive financial report. We first won the award in fiscal year 2018, and this is the 5th consecutive year of the COMET earning this award and the 6th overall for demonstrating excellence in handling and reporting all funding, which includes the Richland County Penny. The Certificate of Achievement is the highest form of recognition in governmental accounting and financial reporting. And this attainment represents a significant accomplishment by a government and its management, reflecting the commitment to transparency and accountability. The 6th award was the Distinguished Budget Award, which began our trend of being recognized for fiscal responsibility on the national scale. So what I've shown you is just a snapshot of how far a third of the penny has carried us over the last 10 years. And the COMET board, staff, and team will continue to work diligently to continue to earn the trust of our riders and you, the people of Richland County. There's so much more good news we can share, including how we ensure the safety and security of our passengers at our COMET Central Hub and on our buses. And there is even more that we can accomplish with the help of the people of Richland County, because look at what we have done with only a third of a penny in the last 10 years. So thank you so much for your time this evening. And now I will yield the floor to Chairman John Black.
Thank you. There we go. Thank you. Now that the presentations are completed, we will transition to our question and answer period. We do have someone out here holding up a question card too, by the way. Questions have been submitted via email over the past few weeks, as well as submitted here tonight. While we won't be able to address all of them, those that aren't answered tonight will be answered and addressed at the upcoming TPAC meeting on Monday, November 20th at 4 o'clock. You can go to the website for further meeting information on how to attend. That's richlandpenny.com. Next up for our question and answer period is going to be Ms. Susan O'Kane, Director of Communications and Public Information for Richland County, and she's going to be moderating this portion of the program.
Thank you, Chair Black, and good evening, everyone. It is a pleasure to serve as moderator for this evening's State of the Penny Address. Before we begin with the question and answer portion of tonight's program, I want to thank you all again for being in attendance tonight and thank our guest presenters for their informative and educational presentations. Thank you. We are going to begin our Q&A portion this evening, and we're going to make the best use of the, I think, 17 minutes that we have remaining in our program. And we are going to start the Q&A. We're going to ask County Administrator Leonardo Brown to come back to the podium. Thank you, Mr. Brown.
My pleasure.
Mr. Brown, this question pertains to the settlement agreement reached with the State Department of Revenue on the penny tax program.
Okay.
What is the total amount of reimbursement that Richland County had to make from the general fund due to improper allocation of penny sales tax revenue?
I think the member of the community who submitted that question, but I think that the question misunderstands the idea of misspent. So the Penny program is a fund like many other governmental funds. And what the question was that the Department of Revenue raised was whether or not money was spent on a specific transportation project. And without going into a lot of extra details, one of the things that the Department of Revenue specifically addressed, and we'll use them because they're the agency that has oversight of the Penny program in terms of our usage. And so I'll use their words to really answer that question. And what they said was, throughout their audit process, Richland County has worked collaboratively and cooperatively with the department in the effort to resolve their questions and issues raised by the department. And during its review and audit of the Penny tax program, including working with the department to establish guidelines and ensure all expenditures are compliant with the Transportation Act retroactively and in the future, the department's final audit contained no findings of civil or constructive fraud, or self-dealing, improper relationships, or civil conspiracy on the part of Richland County. And furthermore, they said that Richland County has taken a number of significant steps to ensure that its constituents have confidence in the Penny Tax program, including reimbursing the Penny Tax Fund for certain expenditures following the Supreme Court's decision in 2018, operating the Penny Tax program in compliance with the guidelines since those guidelines were put in place, and bringing the administration of the Penny Tax program in-house. And they said, furthermore, that Richland County has demonstrated a continuing commitment to fostering and maintaining an open government and being transparent to taxpayers regarding the Penny Tax program. So the Department of Revenue, who is the agency that has oversight of their program, communicated that they felt the matter had been resolved. So there was no misdealing of the county's funds related to the Penny expenditures.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
No, we are not taking any live questions this evening, only those that have been submitted. But I will remind you that if you do have questions or comments, we do still have comment cards available. And we have staff members who will be stationed at the doors this evening as you exit chambers. You can hand those to those staff members, and we will answer your questions within 2 to 3 business days. Our next question comes from the audience this evening. How does the Penny Tax work to support our unhoused community members?
I think that question may have possibly been answered by the COMET's presentation, in that pedestrian improvements, the actual COMET itself, the bus access, as well as our sidewalk projects and our bikeway projects, I believe help assist individuals who have to walk back and forth because they may not have a house to go to. They still have the ability to get through our community and traverse Richland County.
Another question from the audience this evening. How can the county ask for any more tax revenue?
I think tonight's presentation was more about information. It was more about the work that the Penny has done over the course of its inception, rather than an ask for any particular request. So I think that the men and women that are here have demonstrated how the Penny has performed, and hopefully we can continue to share different projects going forward with the constituents of the community.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Looking at the time, we are going to now transition over to some questions for our Director of Public Works and Transportation Penny Department, Mr. Mike Maloney. Mike, the first question for you this evening: why were the streetscape components that were voted for in the 2012 referendum removed from the projects? Most of our corridors are in terrible shape, and this would have really improved the image of our county.
The streetscape on the projects for the neighborhood improvement projects was removed budgetarily due to concerns with the expenses at the time. The components that remained, such as pedestrian sidewalks and safety improvements at intersections, are what were carried out.
Before we move to potentially another tax, when will we, the taxpayers, see an accounting of the monies already collected and where that money was spent?
It's a good question. I appreciate that, and I think the presentation tonight should have covered that.
Yes, and what I do want to mention to you all, with the programs that you received tonight, there is a QR code on those programs. Keep those handy, and you can, that will direct you to our Transportation Penny website. We will have all of the information from tonight's presentation, the slideshow, the video, and any other relative information coming out of tonight's program for you all to view, and that is richlandpenny.com. Another question, Mr. Maloney, for you. If passed, how is penny tax 2 going to be better run and more effective than the current penny tax?
Right now, I'm not here to discuss the penny 2. As far as what we're doing with the penny, we've got a staff that I introduced earlier tonight, and there's so many other people at the county that support this with finance and budget, and Ms. Director Ham, who has been working with me throughout this 2 years that I've been with the penny. I just want to say that the accounting of the funds is something we take very serious. It's something that we think about when we're not at work. The projects and the delivery are things that we're constantly working on to get those out. And there are several elements to that. A lot of people would say, why don't you get them all constructed at once? And right now, if you look at our bids, and we get 1 or 2 contractors bidding on a project, the community could not support building all the projects at the same time. Just from the availability of contractors and the amount of permitting and other things and reviews we're going through. So we're getting everything out as quickly as we can, and being mindful of what the economy and what the state of the construction industry can handle, so that when we're going in, we're not suddenly blown up by high prices. So we're staging that, and then as far as the fund itself and what we spend funds on, all related to the projects that are being delivered for the residents of Richland County. And
Mr. Maloney, we do have a question for you from the audience tonight, and I believe we may have touched on this a little bit earlier, but I don't think that it hurts to reiterate. Who decides what roads are paved? Can you explain that process for us?
There's no one person that decides what roads were paved. They were put together as far as dirt road paving. There's 2 things that come to mind with that question. One would be, what do we decide on what roads get resurfaced that are already paved, and then what roads that are dirt roads get paved. So with that question, I'm not sure which of the 2, or maybe both, but I'll answer both. The dirt road program has a rating system, and they're numbered, go from this project to this project to this project. And they were rated quite a long time ago based on the amount of citizens, households, churches, businesses that are on a dirt road relative to its length, so per unit length. And we know that a dirt road, costs about $1 million a mile to pave. So the more people that you can positively impact by paving it is how they got rated in the beginning. And if it's a connector road, that also gave it some bonus points. But that's all set up in the system as far as where the funding went and, to which roads. As far as the resurfacing program, I started about 3.5 years ago with Richland County, and we had 596 miles of paved road. Today we have about 650 miles of paved road. A few miles of that came from the Penny paving dirt roads, mostly from new development, however. In doing that, all 650 miles are on the list. And those are done by a computer eye that runs down the road and measures the condition of the pavement. So that creates a condition index that we can provide. And then when we go into county council, we provided a presentation with We have our county engineer, Sharani Fuller, out here with us tonight, and that tells us which roads to go to next. The Penny had used a prior study, but when Public Works had a newer study, we started following that because it was more accurate with the current condition of the roads.
Thank you. We are going to move now to the South Carolina Department of Transportation with a couple of questions for the Director of Preconstruction, John Bolyston. Mr. Bolyston, why can't the state tax be used to fund our roads?
The state gas tax you're talking about?
Yes.
Well, it is, and I think I covered that in my presentation. You know, we've spent, if you add those numbers up and then some of the items I didn't discuss, the DOT since the beginning of the 10 years plan has spent $1.8 billion here just in Richland County. So the state gas tax is being spent in Richland County.
And I believe this question is for you all, but there may be some information that should come from Public Works, Transportation Penny. This person writes, the We Are Olympia community organization works to improve the quality of life here in our historic neighborhood. The centerpiece of our community is Olympia Avenue. Although this road is in unincorporated Richland County, it is under the jurisdiction of SCDOT. The avenue with spacious sidewalks is beginning to be in disrepair, and formal parking places need to be created. We believe improvements can be made with some funding coming from the Penny Tax Program. We envision improvements similar to those that were made in surrounding locations over the past 5 years. To whom should we speak regarding the possibility of creating such a project for our community?
I'll start at least. On that, I mentioned earlier that we have a study coming to look at the needs of Richland County. And as far as streetscape and that sort of thing, you know, that we obviously cut that in the past as far as what goes into a project. But as far as the point of sidewalks crumbling and other things, I recommend that, you know, even if it is a SCDOT road and it's a need, that you'd attend the, you know, the future public meetings that'll be coming up under the needs analysis being done. And so that will be done in all 11 council districts and also with the city and DOT and the Council of Governments.
Yeah, the only thing I'd add, I think where the DOT would fall on something like this would be in the repairs and doing whatever maintenance needed to be done to get it back up to a condition of good repair. In terms of streetscaping and things like that, that's where we would look to the Penny to do that, or possibly even through the local metropolitan planning organization, COMET. They can you know, you can advocate groups like that who can fund those types of projects. But in general, we would land kind of on the repairs and keeping it in good repair.
Thank you. And I keep looking at the clock. I know we've got just a few minutes left, but I do want to briefly go to Ms. Bynoe-Reed with a question for the COMET. This resident writes in, Ms. Reed, every time I pass one of the COMET buses, I only see a handful of passengers on the large buses. How efficient is the COMET bus system, and have there been any independent studies done to address efficiency?
Thank you for that question. So when you ride by one of our buses and you see a handful of people on it, it depends upon the time of day, and it also depends upon what part of the route that they're on, because what may start off as 2 or 3 people on the bus can get full really quickly. Take the 801, for instance, or the 401, or some of our other bus routes. So I will tell you that we do look very closely on the efficiency of each route and on a regular basis. And if the route is performing poorly, then we look at ways to mitigate that. We look at, okay, can this community or population be served through another route, and how does that look? And so will tell you, we haven't done, to my knowledge, an independent study, but our staff looks very closely to make sure that we are efficient and reliable, and have increased our on-time performance, of course.
Thank you, Ms. Reed. And speaking of being on time, thank you, and thank you all for your insight into the questions we've received tonight. We do ask you all to stick around for any media Q&A following the program. And now I will turn the program back over to TPAC Committee Chairman John Black for closing comments. Mr. Black.
Thank you, Ms. O'Kane. So thank you for your attendance and participation in tonight's State of the Penny. If you submitted a question either via email or here tonight and it didn't get answered, please join us Monday, November 20th at 4 o'clock for the next TPAC meeting where any unanswered questions will be addressed. I would like to also take this opportunity to thank Vice Chair Prelo for being here, Mr. Morrison, one of our TPAC members, Mr. John Epting, and Mr. Williams. Thank you for being here as well. But before closing, I would like to take a moment to thank the Richland County Public Information Office. They have been instrumental in helping put tonight's State of the Penny address, as well as working hard to improve educating and informing the public regarding the Penny program and projects. They also contributed to the development of the presentations tonight and created and sponsored all the materials that were handed out. Ms. O'Kane, would you and your staff present please stand? They are truly the behind-the-scenes heroes here tonight that have made these presentations possible. Finally, thank you to our elected officials who attended tonight, distinguished guests and residents, and those of you who may be watching online, and those who will end up watching this program after tonight. As you've seen here tonight, the Penny program has had a tremendous positive effect on our county, and it's still going strong, which is benefiting all of Richland County. Thank you, and good night.